that, if you haven't heard, of course, this did go down. The EFF was chased out, and
February in Parliament. When Cyril starts, we start. That's how it's going to roll. When he starts speaking, we're speaking also.
Speaker of the National Assembly.
Honorable Malema, what is the point of order?
You asked Mr. Ramaphosa to sit down first. I'm standing. No, when a point of order is called, Speaker, the Speaker must sit down. You can't have two speakers standing at the same time.
Viva! Viva EFF! Viva! Viva! Long live the spirit of no surrender! Long live! Long live! Long live the spirit of...
Kick me out is to try to intimidate me as a member of parliament from doing my work of holding the president accountable.
I am an African. I owe my being to the hills and the valleys.
We are not a nation defined by the oceans and the rivers that form the boundaries of our land.
Windows DJ somebody my R5 now it's aka Bafetu.
Yo, what's going on? Dumelang kaofela. This is the Free Ride Podcast. Your boy is back once again. Thank you very much to all of you who keep liking, who keep sharing, and who keep commenting on the show. I truly appreciate, man. I appreciate all the positive feedback that I'm getting, and of course, also the negative ones, because, this is how we learn and grow. And of course, the show keeps taking leaps and bounds and continues to grow slowly but surely, and I truly appreciate. We're growing on our TikTok platform, on Spreaker. We're growing on YouTube. We're growing on Instagram as well as Facebook. So we're growing across all platforms. And of course, this is the unfiltered truths. And of course, this is not such a popular discussion topics. And of course, it's not about celebrities. It's not about popular people, and it's really just about issues. And of course, this is the issues that concern all of us as South Africans. And of course, I do my best to give you my version of how I see things in South Africa today. And of course, as I record this, I have to say, rest in peace to AKA. My heart is broken. I woke up in fact, my daughter walked into our room at about 12 o'clock at night, and she comes in and says, "Mom, Dad, you won't believe it. AKA has been shot." It was just so much drama, and I was about to doze off. We were both about to doze off, and we got up, got on our phones, started going on social media, checking all these speculations that Keenan has been shot. Scary stuff, man. And of course, the whole night, going into the early morning, waking up again, trying to see if this has been verified. Wanted to see a statement from the family side. Wanted to see what, if Nadia would post something, or Zintle would post something. But up until this morning, we saw a statement that came from AKA's family. Equally to say that we saw also on social media, Twitter specifically, people saying all kinds of things about Anele, rest in peace, Anele's father may be behind this. I mean, all sorts of speculations that Anele's parents never went to the police. They never waited for a police outcome. This has all of their family written all over it. I mean, these are all speculations. You know, Twitter, social media, people can just go off on a tangent. But we'll see and wait for the cops to do their work. We don't know if they're going to get to the bottom of it. We've seen quite recently DJ Somebody was gunned down. My R5 was gunned down.
Vintos. DJ Somebody, my R5. Now it's AKA Bafetu. Ama-celebrity nama-influencer bafethu lento yokuthi ni-poste ukuthi nizobe nikuphi niya kuphi sometimes siye lento enifaka inkingeni. So izolo AKA went to Durban before ayoperforma khona la bekahleli khona aposta ivideo ukuthi I'll be kuphi sharp. Later on eklabhini waphumela ngaphandle yena nomngane wakhe while they just standing outside kwavela imoto nje i-drive by abamdubulelo AKA ushonile mfethu yabo. AKA uvayile bafethu this thing yomadubulane ekilling bafethu yo ivayisa abantu guys angeke guys ayikho into engalungiseki noma bangathi umuntu kuyenzeke kabi kanjani empilweni ayikho into engalungiseki bafethu ayikho lana ukuthatha impilo yomuntu because this doesn't only affect AKA or somebody banabantwana banamafamily labantu kunabantu ababeka ukudla etafuleni for bona. But anyway, rest in peace to the Super Mega. Appreciate everything uyenzile egamini. Yo, inhliziyo yami ibuhlungu guys. Angeke. Whoever yenze lento kulabantu aboma R5 nabo Samboli nabo lentuzana. Angazi what's the reason. Yabona? Angazi but yo guys ibuhlungu lento yenze. I'm a Casper fan but yabona yaga AKA it hit very hard yabona. So condolences to Nadia Nakai family yaga AKA DJ Zinhle and yeah. Damn.
And Senzo was gunned down. And we still have not found any conclusions to the deaths of these artists. And of course, it just seems like South Africa has become a killing spree where Inkabi can just kill anybody whose money or their head is on the money, or somebody wants somebody dead and they can just hire Inkabi. I mean, I'm not just speculating on these things. There was a documentary, and if you look at Special Assignment, I think they covered it. I think one of the SABC shows covered it. They went down and spoke to Inkabi to understand how political killings have been happening in the last couple of years, and Inkabi coming to confess that that's how they make a living, killing people, and nobody gets caught. We've seen a couple of politicians being killed. Now this has crossed over to artists, where it's blatant killings. And of course, it's a sad sight to see. And, condolences to the families of the guy who was, I'll just get his picture and show it here, who was killed with AKA. Apparently found AKA when AKA was still on a come up. He put him on to a show, and the next thing, AKA blew up. He worked with AKA on his first album, and he managed AKA. I just can't think of his name right now, but yeah, may his soul rest in peace. I'll show you his picture because I've seen them circulating on social media. So it really is a sad waking up. In fact, going to bed, and I remember waking up this morning thinking that it was just a dream, right? I thought it was just a dream that AKA has just been killed so blatantly. And I mean, it's a shock to all of us. And of course, I've been reading social media for the last 2 hours, and in fact, longer than 2 hours. And I was even prompted to come and record the show and, just express how I feel about this. And of course, it's really sad to think that a young man, a father, died the way he died. And of course, speculations will always be there about any type of death because we don't know the truth. And we'll speculate. And of course, that's what social media is doing at the moment. And of course, to the families who lost their loved ones, may their souls rest in peace. To AKA, who's given us great music, great entertainment. And the man has been absolutely on fire for the last couple of years, over a decade, giving us the best of music. And may his soul rest in peace, man. But this show is not about AKA. Today, the unfiltered truth is to reflect. In fact, before I talk about what I'm going to discuss and share my views about the Sona that took place on Thursday, let me quickly take a break, and then when I come back, I'll quickly explain. I want you to firstly have a look at this event that's coming up. Happy V has put together an event that's going to celebrate a crossover to New Year, or a New Year's Eve party, which is taking place in Orlando. So check that out. And when we come back, the first video you're going to check is basically people's opinions, what the public had to say about the state of the city. There's a guy from Rustenburg. He calls himself President Gay. He went on the streets to try and find out what young people think about the state of the city. The state of the nation, and what the president should address. And of course, we'll hear that. When we come back, I want you to also listen to what the political parties had to say, particularly Musi Maimane and the leader of the opposition, the biggest opposition, John Steenhuisen. And then after that, then I'll come back and tell you what the show is all about. All right, let's do that. Boom.
February in Parliament. When Cyril starts, we start. That's how it's going to roll. When he starts speaking, we're speaking also.
Today is the State of Nation address, whereby the President of the Republic will be addressing the nation, of which you are part of the nation. You are part of South Africa. Would you agree, man? Okay. Here in Rustenburg. Yes. And when? Grade 12 also. Yeah. So like this is Sona again. You understand State of Nation address? Oh yeah. Okay. Let me check first. If you were an advisor to the president, what would you advise the president before I address the nation today?
I would advise the president to try and reduce the load shedding.
Load shedding. Yes. And yourself?
I would advise the president to create jobs, I can say.
To create jobs?
Yeah.
Okay. So, after today, the State of Nation address, do you see South Africa into a new South Africa that we wish it to be? Load shedding, unemployment, and etc.
No, because like load shedding and unemployment has been here since forever.
And the president has been addressing it.
Yeah, and the president has been addressing.
Okay. And do you think South Africa will be a better place from today,
I don't think so.
Tonight?
No.
Why?
Because addressed before.
Yes.
There's never been changed.
There's never been changed.
Yeah.
So what do you think the South Africans can do? South Africans to make sure that we are a better country?
Like tonight, the president should ask us, and make sure that he.
Fellow South Africans, tonight's State of the Nation address will be the most significant we've seen. The majority of people in our nation know that things are going in the wrong direction. Not only are they watching their kids pass a substandard matric and end up being unemployed or unemployable, they are also waking up every morning to no electricity. They're finding it hard to find jobs, considering that after all the many promises, manufacturing, textile, tourism, all of these indicators are low. They're waking up every day feeling unsafe, that crime is increasing, and ultimately they feel like their government isn't working for them. Mr. President, tonight is a time for strong and bold leadership. Tonight must be about nothing else but ensuring that A, we can table a credible plan about how we keep the lights on. I want to propose to you that it's worthwhile looking at SMRs and how we can ensure that a small nuclear build can augment our energy while we process our way into a transition where our energy supply is in fact not only stable, but it's environmentally sustainable. Secondly, I want to suggest that we offer some incentive to small businesses so that they can stay afloat. This is where most jobs are going to come from. And Mr. President, be bold. Increase the pass rate. Force the Minister of Basic Education to make sure not only our class is crowded, but our kids can get a better quality matric so that they're prepared for university and ultimately get through TVET colleges. This is fundamental towards building a future. Be bold and be brave. I want to challenge you to say remove the fuel tax so that at least inflation is not added with the pressure of the 18% increase that NERS has granted, but the fuel price as a cost towards basic food items or basic living items. Now is the time, Mr. President. Our country is facing difficult days. I ask you to lead, and I challenge all South Africans that tonight when we watch, we listen out for what our future is. For ultimately, this is the only country we have, and we can all contribute to it. Let us build one South Africa. God bless.
I think we can expect more of the same. Empty promises, big announcements, smoke and mirrors, where it looks like the government's doing something but nothing's actually happening. Same as last year, we were told the energy crisis was going to be the priority. We've had the worst load shedding we've ever had. We were told that GBV and crime was going to be a priority. Those statistics have gone up. We were told the economy and jobs was a priority. Unemployment has risen, and of course the economy is contracting, not expanding. So I think we're going to have another evening of more empty promises, grand plans, bullet trains, smart cities, social compacts that are going to be a lot of noise and a lot of fanfare, but in the end of the day are going to signify nothing.
All right, man. So you heard it from President Gay, and of course expressing his views, and of course the views of young people on what they expected the president to say. So I'll get to what the president said later on this video. I want you to be cognizant of the following. One, it's looking at what the people had to say, what those that we've elected, maybe not some of us, but some of you have voted to represent you, whether they come from the EFF, whether they come from the DA, whether they come from the ATM, UDM, IFP, you name all these parties, okay? So they had a view about what they expect from the president. So Mmusi Maimane, who's not yet the leader of BOSA, who's not yet represented in parliament, of course expressed his view about what he expects from the president. So you had to listen to that. And then secondly, the EFF was extremely ambitious about how they are going to interrupt the state of the city, the state of the province addressed by the president. And of course, Julius Malema made it clear that as soon as the president speaks, they're going to put a point of order. When the president speaks, they're going to speak. When the president speaks, they're going to speak. And then, of course, I'm sure you've seen the state of the province, state of the nation, that it didn't quite work out as planned for the EFF. Maybe because they got tons of media attention outside, maybe they might feel they've achieved something. But if I look at the lay of the land in terms of what social media and people were saying, it seems like the president did touch a nerve in terms of what he announced, and I'll get to that later. What I also want you to see is on this video is that something quite significant, and I'm going to play it for you just now. Thabo Mbeki delivered that famous speech of his about I'm an African. And he went to town and he inspired many of us. This was probably one of the most historic speeches during our democracy, because it made all of us feel inspired about the landscape, the rivers, the sun, the beautiful African landscapes that we have, and of course the beautiful country that we have. And then Cyril Ramaphosa pours water on all of this and listen to what he had to say. So let's do that quickly. Boom.
I am an African. I owe my being to the hills and the valleys, the mountains and the glades, the rivers, the deserts, the trees, the flowers, the seas, and the ever-changing seasons that define the face of our native land.
We are not a nation defined by the oceans and the rivers that form the boundaries of our land. We are not defined by the minerals under our earth or the spectacular landscape above it. We are not even defined by the languages and the cultures that we have as a people, or by the songs that we sing, or even by the work that we do. We are, at our most essential, a nation defined by hope.
All right, so you heard it for yourself. And of course, I want you to now take a look at, if you haven't heard, of course, this did go down. The EFF was chased out, and, the leader of the ATM was chased out of Parliament. And of course, the next video I want you to have a look at, it's exactly that. It's the leader of the ATM as well as the leader of the EFF being asked, together with the EFF members, to step out of Parliament. And of course, they didn't want to just leave. They wanted to protest and go onto the stage and almost put their lives at risk and the president's life at risk. Okay, so some say Julius and them did not have any kinds of weapons. All they had was placards. They were just going to get onto the stage and protest there. And of course, the Presidential Protection Unit, together with the men in white T-shirts or the men in white shirts, and women stepped onto the stage quickly, way before the speaker had announced that they need to come and protect the president. They were already there. So they were keeping a close eye, waiting to see what might happen. So they were quick. And of course, you will see in the next video, John Steenhuisen saying, but Speaker, these people came before you even said that they must come. And then the leader of the FF Plus also coming on to say, but no, John, you are wrong. Those people were putting the president's life in danger. So you'll see the whole commotion that went down in Parliament. It's about a 10-minute long video. Check it out. And when we come back, we're going to wrap it up with some of the key issues that the president raised at the Sona. So let's do that. Boom.
Speaker of the National Assembly.
Honorable Malema, what is the point of order?
You asked Mr. Ramaphosa to sit down first. I'm standing. No, when a point of order is called, Speaker, the Speaker must sit down. You can't have two speakers standing at the same time. Please follow the procedure.
Honorable Malema.
I'm rising on Joint Rules 14S. And we can't both stand, Speaker.
Honorable Malema, I asked you, you said you have a point of order.
Yes.
And I said, what is the point of order? And I allowed you to go ahead.
But please, Speaker, in terms of procedure, the President must sit down.
I will order the President to sit down if I feel it is necessary for him to do so. I will. No, sit down, honorable members.
Honorable Speaker, it's not the rules. That's not how it works. Honorable Speaker, I think we are, as honorable members, violating the joint rules of this House by allowing Mr. Ramaphosa to speak here, because he has taken this parliament to court. And by taking this parliament to court, he has passed a motion of no confidence on this parliament. And he can't have his cake and still eat it, because until the court has resolved on the dispute between us as parliament and him, he's got no leg to stand before us as a legitimate body to address us. And therefore, I ask that the Speaker should actually declare this meeting closed because he had no right even to convene us to come here. How can he convene the people that he has taken to court? And in that court, Speaker, you are the first respondent. Effectively, he has taken you to court. And that if he wins this case, it means that this body has acted unlawfully against him. We have a matter with him before court, and the right thing to do will be that we should allow the court to make a ruling before we can interface in the manner we're doing. Because the president has declared a motion of no confidence against his own parliament, something that has never happened.
Thank you.
President Mbeki can confirm that since 1994, we have seen this mess with what is before us now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Malema. Honorable Malema, when I opened this session, I said this session is convened in terms of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, read together with Rule 7. And this has been called in order to discuss one item, in fact, not a discussion, for the President to provide us with his program of action of government, and therefore he will be allowed to proceed and deliver the State of the Nation address. This session has not been convened to discuss any other matter other than the one which I have just stipulated. Allow us, Honorable Malema, to allow the President to present his State of the Nation address. Yes, Honorable Malema. I also would not want us to have a dialogue, Honorable Members. Yes.
With due respect, Honorable Speaker, you cannot say that this event is called only to perform one item only. If that was the case, the joint rules were not going to allow the point of orders. Though the founders of this parliament knew that there might be a necessity, even when we are convened in this manner, for members of parliament to raise issues that are damaging the image of this institution. And I've raised that matter, and I would like you to consider it and not just dismiss it on the basis that we are here to listen to one item only. The rules were not going to provide for point of orders if we are only subjected to listen to one item. And therefore, I think the Speaker is out of order in that regard.
Very much, Honorable Malema. Honorable Malema and honorable members, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, stopping the President from addressing the House. In terms of Section 34, everyone, any one of us here has a right to access the courts of the Republic of South Africa. I now, please, honorable members, invite the President to deliver the state of, it is in our interest for us to listen to the State of the Nation address, honorable members. Mr. President, you may proceed.
Speaker, I'm raising on a point of order as is contained in Rule 14S of the Joint Rules of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. We can't bury our heads as Parliament and sit here convened by a person who has disregarded the institutions of the state. We know, as a matter of fact, that there is an issue which the Reserve Bank sought clarity from him on in relation to the money that is in Palapala. He has ignored that recurrently. The revenue collector, the FIC, SAPS, everyone else.
There is a point of
I think order. That issue must, we can't bury our heads in the sand and listen to a person who is involved in wrongdoing.
Honorable members.
And we can't vote wrong into right as Parliament as we did in the last sitting when we were dealing with the Palapala issue.
You are now delivering a speech. This is a speech. Next week, no, Honorable Shivambo, please take your seat. Please take your seat. Honorable Zungula.
Speaker.
Yes.
I want to call upon people. Thing that you did, Speaker, is to anticipate what will happen in the House by reading rules of Parliament. And that is in violation of Rule 90 in terms of the rules. The second point of order, Speaker, is that you are disrupting speakers when they are addressing you. And Speaker,
Honorable Zungula,
you are violating
please take your seat.
Rule 66.
Please take your seat, Honorable Zungula.
You are violating the
Honorable Zungula, will you
because you are
please
interrupting me.
take your seat?
I'm not done, Speaker.
Honorable Zungula,
I'm not done.
take
Speaker,
your seat.
I'm a member of Parliament. I've got a
Honorable
right to
Zungula,
raise a point of order.
I am calling you for the third time.
Speaker,
Honorable Zungula.
I am raising a point of order.
Honorable Zungula.
I'm raising a point of order.
Honorable Zungula, I request you to leave the House. I do. I request you, Honorable Zungula, to leave the House. Honorable Shivambo, Honorable Malema, Honorable Mente, Honorable Mawutwe, Honorable Dlamini, Honorable Ndlozi, Honorables, the ones I've just called now, you can leave the House. Now. Sergeant and arms, leave the House. Honorable members, you are refusing to leave the House. Thank you. I now suspend the proceedings. Security services, you may intervene. Security services of the Republic of South Africa, you now come into the chamber and remove the members. The business is suspended for the next 10 minutes.
Speaker kicked me out is to try to intimidate me as a member of Parliament from doing my work of holding the President accountable. You'll recall that last year, ATM has been on the forefront leading the charge in holding the President accountable. The Rule 90 that I read is speaking against anticipation. Before the session started today, the Speaker anticipated what's going to happen. That is why she was reading some rules. The second rule, which is Rule 66, which I read out, was detailing how the Speaker is not allowed to interrupt a member when speaking. When Honorable Malema, Honorable Shivambo, and also myself, when I was speaking, the Speaker interrupted me. And lastly, for a person to be kicked out, they need to be given a warning first, which did not happen because the Speaker said I must sit down. I sat down, and without even being given a warning, I was told to leave the House.
The Speaker had said that in the Chief Whip's forum, or at least one of the Chief Whips said that they made it clear they would enforce the rules at the sitting immediately. They wouldn't waste any time to do so. What do you make of how it all transpired and how quickly you were kicked out?
Look, it is very clear what the Speaker is doing. It is to intimidate members of Parliament. And we're not going to allow a timid Parliament whereby the executive is not held accountable. She may belong to the ruling party, but we are going to do all in our might to make sure that Parliament is the Parliament of the people of South Africa, not a Parliament that belongs to the ruling party, and they are going to use the rules to suppress members of other parties. It is very clear that you need, even the Speaker herself, needs to follow the rules. She did not follow Rule 90, she did not follow Rule 66, she did not even follow the rules that says for a presiding officer to actually kick out a member of Parliament, there needs to be a warning. All of you can attest, there was no warning that was given to me before I was kicked out.
What are you going to do about this?
we are going to take it up and we are going to lay a complaint with the relevant committee in Parliament to make sure that it does not become a norm or a habit that the Speaker uses her power willy-nilly and uses her power to try and suppress members of Parliament from...
They can't defeat a political debate through political engagement. What they do, they resort to political killing and political intimidation. All of this is aimed at undermining our multi-party democracy, which allows protest and freedom of speech.
Mr. Malema, are you saying the state is trying to kill you?
Absolutely. They are planning, not only me, they are planning to kill the leadership of the EFF. Where have you ever seen what they did inside Parliament being done anywhere where there is a protest? That was a very clear assault from the side of the police. And the leadership of the EFF was well briefed about that. That's why when we were pushed there, the first thing members of the EFF did was to pull me out of the crowds before they can take out anyone and say, don't get involved, because we know what these people are intending to do.
What are you going to do about the state, your belief that the state wants to kill you?
No, we will continue to fight. It's part of the terrain. We report to the police, we report to the leadership of the police. What they do with that information is up to them. But there's nothing we can do except to reinforce our own security and tell them that this is what we are subjected to. We thought we must thank you for being militant and disciplined at the same time. You really stood your ground under very difficult circumstances, and we saw that the Speaker came prepared not to allow members of Parliament to exercise their democratic right. And as a result, this matter will be taken to court, because there is a constitutional court ruling that said members of Parliament must never be treated as a group. They should be treated as individuals. And members of Parliament, in terms of the rules, have to be called 3 times before they can be evicted. Some of us, our names were called and were told to leave the house, but we were not warned 3 times like they did with Zungula, which means there are rules which are under the carpet. They only get released when it is an EFF 10. So that cannot be left unchallenged. What happened today have to be declared unconstitutional.
All right, man, welcome back to it. This is the Free Ride Podcast, Unfiltered Truth. And of course, I did speak about what the president spoke about earlier today. And just lastly, here's some of the things that I want you to see the president making in his speech. And
we reiterate our call to companies. We reiterate our call also to government departments and to state-owned enterprises to remove the requirement for work experience for young people seeking entry-level positions. Now, it is often said that you must have experience, even when you are a first-time job seeker. Where will you get the experience when you have not been given an opportunity to work? And that is why we say remove that requirement. Last year, we said that we would place over 10,000 TVET college graduates in employment. We have surpassed that figure and have now set a target for 2023 to 20,000 TVET graduates to be placed in employment. The number of students entering artisan training in TVET colleges will be increased from 17,000 to 30,000 in 2023 academic year. One of the key ingredients for economic growth and competitiveness is the ability to attract skills which the economy needs.
Of course, he spoke about unemployment among young people, the issues of skills development among young people, about making sure that young people get the skills that the economy needs, not just to go and study things that are not in the need of the economy. And of course, he also spoke about zero experience needed for young unemployed graduates to be employed regardless of their experience. And of course, he spoke about that. And I think what touched the nerve for all South Africans was the fact that he said that he was going to get a minister of electricity in his cabinet.
I will appoint a minister of electricity in the presidency to assume full responsibility for overseeing all aspects of the electricity crisis response. You better listen, including the work of the National Energy Crisis Committee. Now, the minister will focus full-time on the work with the ESCOM board and the management on ending load shedding and ensuring that the Energy Action Plan is implemented without delay.
Already got two ministers, Gwede Mantashe and Pravin Gordhan. Pravin Gordhan, he's responsible for ESCOM. Gwede Mantashe, responsible for energy. Now he's going to have a third minister. Some are even saying that is the president bloating his presidency by appointing all these ministers and making his cabinet in his presidency office. And of course, that's arguments that are coming from everyone saying, we may as well have a minister of potholes. We may as well have a minister of money, even though we've got the minister of finance. You know, South Africans are crazy. And then, of course, another thing that touched the nerve for South Africans is, the issue of gender-based violence, the issue of, in fact, let me go back to the electricity issues.
It's just gazetted the declaration of the state of disaster, which will begin with immediate effect. Now, what will the state of disaster enable us to do? It will enable us to provide practical measures that we need to take to support businesses, a number of businesses, for instance, in food production, storage, retail supply chains, including for the rollout of generators and solar panels and uninterrupted power supply. Where technically possible, it will also enable us to exempt critical infrastructure such as hospitals and water treatment plants from load shedding. And it will enable us to accelerate energy projects and limit regulatory requirements while maintaining rigorous environmental protection as well as procurement principles and technical standards. Now, the Auditor General will be brought in to ensure continuous monitoring of expenditure in order to guard against any abuses of funds needed to attend to this disaster. Now, to deal more effectively and urgently with the challenges that confront us.
The President says that even the 5-point plans that he's got, he's already pointed them out during July last year. So it means since July last year, when he announced the Just Energy Mix, that he still sticks to his guns about that plan. And in that plan, he says that we need to fix ESCOM, sort out the coal plants, and then households must be provided for with finance. Finance must be assisted to households who need to put on solars. Solars must go on their houses. And then I think the 5th point was to say, those of you who wants to start energy businesses, you can. And of course, if you want to sell your energy to government, you can. Now, here's what's missing in his plan that I did not pick up in everything that he said. First of all, at least 90% of all solar material comes from China. Whether it's panels, whether it's batteries, whatever it is, we don't manufacture anything that comes with regards to solar issues. So all the money that we're going to spend as a country is going to leave the country, go to China and maybe Germany and maybe one or two countries that have already started manufacturing solar components. So I don't know if we are missing something here. We are not talking about also those who steal electricity. And I mean, these are people that steal cables. Now, here's what I've seen is that those guys who are zamazamas, who stay in informal settlements, the majority of them, the copper that gets stolen and cables that get stolen goes through them, some of them, and then they use the cables to light up underneath the ground. Underneath the ground, these guys are electrifying underneath by using the cables that get stolen. Some of them have houses at the top, which is informal settlements, and they are using the very same cables to power up the informal settlements. So we're not really dealing with the economy of the thieves and those who steal electricity. So we need to see the president and the police minister doing something about redirecting the skills that these guys have and actually giving them real skills around the issues of solar and so on. So alternative energy, and just give them skills so that they don't go back and then steal the panels off the roofs, steal the cables that connect the panels to the households. So we're still going to experiment or experience a whole lot of issues around these guys if nothing drastic is done to deal with them. So I hope you understand. I've covered as much as I can with regards to the president's speech. It was a 2-hour-long speech, so there is no way that I was going to do a 2-hour video unpacking every single thing that the president said. So I rather made sure that people, you as South Africans, express how you feel, what you expected from the president. Those that you've elected to power, to actually voice their opinions about what they expected out of the president. And of course, we had to hear from the president himself and of course, all the political parties who were kicked out of parliament. So that's what went down. That's what's going down right here in South Africa. And of course, like I said earlier on in the beginning of my video, may AKA soul rest in peace. May R5's soul rest in peace. May DJ Somebody rest in peace. More and more young people, they don't even reach the ages of 38. 38 seems to be a cutoff figure for a lot of South African male artists. They don't make it past there. And I mean, I can go through a long list of artists that just don't make it to 40 or past 38. So may their souls rest in peace. And I'm out, man. This has been the Free Ride podcast. And of course, this particular segment is called The Unfiltered Truth. So I'm out. Boom.
So here's something interesting. 24th of May 1994, Nelson Mandela gave his first State of the Nation address. It was in that very building that he finished that speech with the words, "Let us all get down to work." Never has there been a Sona more important than this one. The Sona itself is the annual opening of South Africa's parliament. And for all the fanfare that this day brings, it is the address to the nation by the President of the Republic of South Africa that takes center stage. Sona is a way to reflect, to report back on the challenges that have faced the country and the way forward. It is also a way to take stock of the current status of the country. And although I have not seen the President's speech, President Ramaphosa is likely going to outline government's policy and key deliverables for the year ahead. He is going to flag the challenges that we need to overcome as a nation and the interventions needed to unlock our nation's potential. Mr. President, to you I sincerely offer these words. Many South Africans feel down, but we dearly love this country. We all feel that South Africa needs to get going. It needs to get working. Mr. President, South Africa needs to start growing again. South Africa needs to create opportunities and take better care of its people. Mr. President, let us all get down to work.